Medical ethics is being inverted. Find out about that and more in today's edition of Life Matters. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on the right to life, on what it really is and the issues that are facing us right now that many people don't fully understand. There's a lot of confusion about this issue, about the right to life. For example, the issue of Roe versus Wade. Do you know the average American really doesn't know what Roe versus Wade does? Many think it's the first trimester, and therefore they support Roe. Look at the polls. It's been consistent for years. Some think, well, it's the first and second trimester. And they don't quite support that, most Americans, but they'll go along with it, some of them. Others understand that abortion has been legalized on January 22nd, 1973, throughout pregnancy. How did that happen? We'll talk a little bit about that today. But the fact is that most people don't understand this debate at all, and they tend to get into tangents. And many of these tangents are good things, by the way. Often the tangent can be my personal theology or your personal theology. But that's not the issue. It was not the issue on January 22nd, and it's not the issue today. It's about objective facts, either human beings, real, objectively discernible human beings that are unique, that have their own unique body. They're not part of a woman's body, as you know. They're unique human beings. Science has declared that, and yet that child can be killed throughout the length of that pregnancy, and in many cases now they're being killed after the birth. So if folks don't know that, they won't care. We want you to know what's going on in the Right to Life movement, and we're going to talk about that today here on Life Matters. We're going to use some situations in California. There's two bills in California right now that ironically really sum up the problem. And we're going to talk about those measures. And even if you're outside of California, they're very important to understand because they summarize the whole debate that faces the whole world. And there are people listening now in Europe. There are people who listen via shortwave as well as podcast. The issue of the right to life is a foundational issue for society. It is based on the premise that there's such things as the laws of nature and nature's God, what's known as natural law. That really exists. There's right and wrong. It's objectively demonstrable that there's such things as right and wrong. And it doesn't take too much deep thinking. You do have to think a little bit, I'll admit. But there's objective right and wrong. And killing an innocent human being is objectively wrong and has been held as wrong by society, by any just society. Killing an innocent human being that's entirely vulnerable, that has done nothing to deserve that attention, but just you're getting rid of them. All just societies have condemned that. And that's at the very heart of this debate. So today we're going to get into two measures from California. We're going to talk about just how astounding they are, but they're going to help you understand the life and death struggle for our culture. And really what it helps us do is it helps us understand the bottom line issue confronting all of us now, and that is the nature of medicine. Because the right to life, ultimately, due to Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton, the right to life has to do with a deeper question, and that is the lethal use of medicine. The use of medicine to kill instead of cure. The use of medicine to eliminate instead of comfort. You know, if you can't cure a person, the Hippocratic Oath required that you at least comfort them, but you not kill them intentionally. That goes back a long ways. And that's what's really at stake in this issue. Can we as a society say, yes, it's all right to kill vulnerable human beings, and we'll have specialists do it? We call them doctors in America. And Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton confirm that. Doctors are the only ones that can kill. In a moment, I'll talk a little bit about my new book. My new book really lays this out, that what was authorized on January 22nd, 73 through Roe v. Wade in its companion decision, not often talked about, Doe versus Bolton. What was authorized was medical killing by the highest tribunal on earth. Medical killing was authorized officially, and it cut against more than 2,000 years of medical ethics. That's what you're facing in our society every day. And yes, there's other issues related to that, the issue of women's rights. You hear that a lot. But really, if you talk to a feminist who understands what's happened with Roe v. Wade, women were not given the rights. No, women were not given rights, except to go and ask permission of a doctor. Doctor, would you please kill this human being for me? And in many ways, a woman is the indirect object, because the object of the doctor's work is to get at and kill a human baby. That's the object of an abortionist job. And the woman is the indirect object. Yeah, she's got to be there, but his job is to kill the baby. And it'd be nice if she complies, of course. But his job is to kill the baby. That's why he's paid. That's what he does. So while often we'll talk about what are the women's rights, if you carefully read Roe v. Wade and Doe versus Bolton, both decisions are very clear. Justice Blackmun and the court agreed. Women can't do whatever they want. Women are not granted this right. The right is only given to professionals. There'll be a new class, professional killers. They used to be called doctors. We're going to say that's a new aspect of doctoring. They can kill if they think they want to. They can do it. We'll talk about that more, and we'll talk about the bills coming up in your California legislature if you're here in California. But if not, if you're somewhere else in the world, everything that we're talking about now is actually applicable to you and what's coming at you through the culture of death that was unleashed on January 22nd, 1973.
Life Matters continues after this.
This is Brian Johnston of the California Pro-Life Council. Wherever medicine has been used to kill, it's proved impossible to control. Please help us stop assisted suicide in California. Go to stopassistedsuicide.com. That's stopassistedsuicide.com.
Did you know that California has a law on the books that says you need to protect babies born alive in the course of an abortion? But that law is simply ignored. We need to shine a light on this cover-up of the abortion industry in our state. Go to californiaprolife.org and click on the Light of Day project. We need the facts about late-term abortion to be examined and made known. We need the government doing its job to protect lives. We need the light of day on this.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Well, welcome back to Life Matters, and I'm your host, Brian Johnston. We're talking about some very specific issues now in California, but these issues are demonstrably a foundational question in the whole debate about what the right to life is. Now, if you haven't, you know that I've been writing some books, and my most recent book is coming out soon. It's called The Evil Twins, Roe and Doe, How the Supreme Court Unleashed Medical Killing. And this book actually takes a deep dive into what those decisions actually said and what those decisions actually do. First of all, you're probably well aware most people have never heard of Doe versus Bolton. People that have been involved in this debate, they know that Doe v. Bolton came out the same day, and then it's tied to Roe v. Wade, but many people don't fully understand the distinction and what happened in those decisions. Just to sum it up, on January 22nd, 1973, in order for human abortions to be legal, the Supreme Court said, well, we have to authorize somebody to do this, and we're not going to authorize women to do it to themselves. Very clear in both decisions, and real feminists know that. Even Justice Ginsburg, Justice of the Supreme Court, she hated Roe v. Wade, and she said as much. She said that it didn't give women any rights. It gave only the doctor rights. And she was right. So what had to be legalized first before abortion was the idea that doctors had to be free to kill and to kill at their own discretion, not answerable to any state law, not answerable to any state court, not answerable to the federal courts. A very significant change in your culture. If you don't focus on that, you're going to miss what's going on all around you. So now, let me move ahead and talk about what's happening in California now. We're in the spring of 2021, a pretty strange time in our history, and it's getting stranger. There's two bills. One is Assembly Bill 705. And Assembly Bill 705 would require that California's religious medical institutions, and of course that would include Catholic hospitals, there's quite a few in California, but there's other religiously based medical institutions. And let me go further, there's other ethically based medical institutions. There are still some doctors that believe that medical ethics should reflect the values of the Hippocratic Oath. And they have rules at their medical facilities. I'm glad. So what this bill does, AB 705, is it would require that if a doctor works at one of those facilities, Catholic hospital, let's use them for an example, and that doctor believes in the right to an abortion or the right for a doctor to kill a patient who asks for it. You know, they asked for it, so it's okay. I mean, they're really sick and they asked for it. So it's okay if they ask for it and if I believe in it. And there's doctors that have taken that approach. We've talked about this many times. You can go back on the podcast and hear about euthanasia and assisted suicide, which is a form of voluntary euthanasia. But the bottom line is that somebody's got to do the dirty work. And in all of these laws, they say, well, you got to be a professional and it's got to be a doctor that does it. But what this bill would do is it would give the doctors the authority over the institution. And if a doctor is a killing doctor and they kill someone in one of these hospitals, well, according to the state of California, once this passes, that's what they should do. Even in a Catholic hospital, they shouldn't honor those values. If they believe in their heart as a doctor that killing the patient is what should be done, I'm not going to spend my time trying to ease their pain or get them counseling. I think this is the quick and most compassionate thing to do. It's what we do for animals, isn't it? If that's the belief of the doctor, it must be respected. That's what Assembly Bill 705 does. And this is incredibly important because it turns on the head the idea of a conscience clause. That if you don't have a conscience about these things, okay, then you're free to do it. If there is some conscionable objection to killing another human being, well, we don't have to follow that. So it actually attacks the very concept of a conscience. We've said it before, you have to understand how human society works, but the fact is that human society does its best to reflect just laws. And that means that there are higher standards. Think about this for a moment. If there's a law that is passed and someone says, that's an unjust law, I don't care what side of the debates you're on. If you say that is an unjust law, you are therein saying that there's a higher law by which that law should be judged. Just because you have the power to pass a law, that doesn't make it just. So all of us know, if you've ever used that phrase or thought of the concept of an unjust law, you are actually appealing to higher law. And that's what a conscience is about, that there's a higher law to which we are accountable. That's the basis of the United States of America's laws. We hold these truths to be self-evident. It's a self-evident truth. It's based on the laws of nature and nature's God. And the first principle is that killing a vulnerable human life, the right to life, must be protected. And that's one of the principles of having a conscience and of appealing to a higher law. Just because you have the power and ability at a particular moment to harm someone or to take what they have. Hey, why don't I just take it? I really like Camaros, and therefore I'm going to go out and get me a Camaro. Well, you're free to get yourself a Camaro legally, but just because it's something that's wanted, you just can't go around taking Camaros. even though you really, really want it. Yeah, but God gave me these desires. Well, wait a second. Don't blame God. The fact is that there is a higher law, and you can want something, but when you want something that's not yours, and then you take it because you have that moment, the availability, you have violated a higher law. So don't go around blaming God for your feelings. There's a higher law to which you yourself are accountable. And that's what allows society to exist. The very first premise is you don't go around hurting people or killing them. And as Justice Brandeis, I believe it was, says, yeah, you have a right to swing your arm whenever you want. But that ends at my nose. You cannot harm someone else just by doing whatever you want. And that means, in particular, killing them. That's what the right to life is about. So that's one bill, AB 705, and it started in the Assembly, and it's quite alarming because it makes the meaning of going to a Catholic hospital or having standards at a religious institution of health, those standards would be removed entirely if this passes. And again, it doesn't even have to be a religious institution. It can be conscientious physicians that have established an ethical medical practice. Killer doctors can get a job there, and if they haven't kept them out, they can determine all the policies of that religious and ethically inclined medical facility. I hope you understand what that means. It means a lot. So hopefully there are Catholics who might be listening in California, but be listening throughout the world. This is coming at you right now. If you believe there is higher law that should protect lives, they want to eviscerate that. They want that to be removed. And AB 705 in the California Assembly at the moment, and that's going to be in the California Health Committee of the Assembly on April 19th, and then it's going to continue its journey through the legislature. So we'll probably talk about it more. If you haven't heard about it, you need to think about it. You need to think again on a lot of these issues. And that's what we do a lot on Life Matters. We ask you to think again and more deeply. We'll be right back after this.
Life Matters continues after this.
Are you willing to step up to be a lifeguard? We're asking you to consider becoming a Life Matters lifeguard. On Life Matters, we cut to the depths of this cultural battle of ideas that has robbed America of its core values and robbed the innocent of their right to life. Anything you can pledge is appreciated. But if you pledge $19 a month, we will make you part of the Life Matters lifeguard team, getting you the important tools and dynamic information to help save lives and encourage others in understanding the lurking dangers in today's deadly cross-currents of culture. Your pledge helps us with our costs of broadcast. It keeps the full understanding of the right to life going out over our numerous radio stations and also facilitates the important podcast that carries even more programming. Please go to the front page of the Life Matters website and click on the donate button. Your donation is deeply appreciated.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
We're back, and you're listening to Life Matters. We're talking about two measures from California. We're going to switch gears to the other bill. Senate Bill 380, that's in the California State Senate, is very interesting because it takes the issue of conscience and it turns it on its head again. Because in Senate Bill 380, it would require physicians who are pro-life physicians to quit in their convictions and to hand over any patient that asks to be killed. If you're a good doctor, again, you don't have to be a religious doctor. There's many good doctors that when a patient says, look, doc, just kill me. Let's get this over with. A good doctor has always known this, and psychology has always known this, that a request for suicide is the number one indicator of a very deep depression. And depression can be treated. You might have other illnesses that perhaps are untreatable, but your depression can be treated. And a good doctor is going to say, well, hang on, let's talk it through. A good doctor is going to walk you through that request because a good doctor understands what's going on and is not immediately going to say, sure, I like killing people, I'll do that. No, there's more to it. So good doctors have always, and this is in the Hippocratic Oath, I will give no deadly medicine, even if asked. So that's 3,000 years ago it was written. That was an issue then. People were in pain then. And the doctor said, even if you ask me, or if one of your relatives ask me, I'm not going to do it. That isn't what a good doctor does. Because once a doctor's free to kill, where do they stop? So the Hippocratic Oath has been critical, but that's been set aside now. So this is what SB 380 does. SB 380 now will change the existing law. If you're not aware of it, then you have been listening to Life Matters. But here in California, the End of Life Act actually authorizes physician killing, what is called in some cases physician aid in dying. If you recall, I like the English language, and if what you're doing is causing the death, then that's not dying, that's a new verb, that's a transitive verb. If you've caused the death, that literally should be killing, because we're all going to die. And hopefully for you and all of us, I hope you die of natural causes and a comfortable, good death with family around, because we're all going to die. But you don't have to be killed in order to die. Mother Teresa would give people aid in dying. She would comfort them as they were dying. She would offer what good medicine does when it can't cure, it still comforts. Mother Teresa never caused anyone to die. That's called killing. And so we have that legalized in California and in much of the United States and North America. Canada now has gone over the edge. You'll have to listen to another program about what's going on in Canada. We're talking about California laws. You're tuning into Life Matters. We're talking about California laws that are up right now that you need to be aware of, that really hit the battle for life and death. And Senate Bill 380 would require a physician. Right now, in California law, a good doctor can say, I don't think you're ready. Let's talk through, or I want to refer you to this counselor. I want to refer you to this psychologist or psychiatrist. Or even here's a prescription to deal with your emotions. A good doctor will address that request in a good medical way. A doctor who wants to speed things along, or maybe they don't have a conscience about this issue, they'll say, sure, I'll kill you. This is important. And right now there's a conscience clause in existing law. SB 380 would say no. If you're a physician and you're asked to kill the patient, stop right there. Don't counsel them. Don't refer them to a life-affirming doctor or someone who might give them something that will change their mind. Don't make them change their mind at all. You've got to kill them. And if you're not going to kill them, you're required right now to hand them over to someone who will. You must comply with what we're doing here. And this removes the conscience clause for good ethical doctors. That's Senate Bill 380. As I said, the other thing, Senate Bill 380 is now in the California Senate. It also is going to the Judiciary and Health Committees. But on the other side of the building, Assembly Bill 705 would require that ethical institutions allow the killing in their facility. And SB 380 would require that ethical doctors promote, endorse, and facilitate the killing. Even if they're not going to do it, get them into the hands of a doctor that will. So what you have is a situation that a doctor who has a conscience is not allowed to exercise it. And then there's the other doctors who simply don't need a conscience. And that's the cultural war you're up against. And it's very real and it's immediate. So in California, do contact your California legislator. You can find out more at californiaprolife.org. Make sure you're ready for this battle. If you're in other states or other countries, this battle is on you right now. As I said, I've written a book about this, and this is actually the theme of the book. And the reason I've made this the theme of the book is because many pro-lifers don't fully understand what happened in Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton. The name of the book, and it's going to be released on April 14th, is The Evil Twins, Roe and Doe, How the Supreme Court Unleashed Medical Killing. And it's going to be available. You can get it online. You can order in advance through Amazon or through New Regency Pub, newregencypub.com. You can order it in advance, but it comes out on April the 14th. It's critically important to realize that what was authorized through Roe and Doe was medical killing, the lethality of medicine, which had been prohibited in civilization up until that date, January 22nd of 73. Western civilization always condemned it. And in fact, the most recent time it was violated was only 25 years earlier, when the Germans first started killing using medicine, by the way. They didn't send soldiers. They actually sent killing doctors into institutions. It was called the T4 program. And they didn't start with Jews. They started with defective Aryans in order to cleanse the Aryan race, in order to make sure they weren't spending too much money on the disabled. On World War I vets, they had a huge World War I vet problem because of mustard gas. They were spending millions of Deutschmarks, and they didn't have the money. So this was compassionate. You can read more about that in other places. But you need to know that what happened on January 22nd of 73 did the same thing to our medical profession and authorized our medical profession to ignore the Hippocratic Oath. And the risks of that you're living with right now. You're surrounded by that unalterably shocking decision to make doctors into killers, to make it part of the doctor's repertoire, to just kill. And that brings many problems. I go into that in greater depth in my book, Evil Twins, Roe and Doe, How the Supreme Court Unleashed Medical Killing. And you can order it in advance. Let me tell you, if you want to help me get this book to bestseller status on Amazon, there's a way to do it. And I'd love to show you how. And again, we're going to be released April 14th. I'm going to give you my text number. My text number, this is my personal text number. That's right. And you can text me. You could say whatever you want to me. I'll read it. But what I'd like to know, would you be willing to help get this book to the top of the charts on Amazon? There's a way to do it. So here's my text, 916-530-4250. That's 916-530-4250. And text me that you want to help the Evil Twins get to the top of the charts of Amazon. And I'll show you how to help, and I'm going to give you goodies for doing that. So thanks so much. Again, you're listening to Life Matters, your program on what the right to life really is and what you can do about it. Thanks for listening.
Learn more about everything in today's show online at lifematters.life, where you'll find all the resources you need to protect life. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. Wherever you are in the nation, you can find out more at National Right to Life. Get informed and get involved.